So you remember that format we did last time, of framing a review as a response to other critics? That was good, I liked that. Let's do it again. This time we're going to cross-examine The Mean Six with an analysis by Geeky Stephen which boldly claims it to be the worst episode of Season 8. The Mean Six is ideal for this exercise since it's one of those where its hostile reception reflects more on the way critics are approaching it than the episode itself, which is in reality just an unremarkable mindless bit of filler at the very worst. Personally speaking, it's one of my favourites, but then I obviously have a degree of bias there. What were we talking about again? Oh yeah, the review. To begin with, Queen Chrysalis, in disguise, steals a strand from each of the main six's mains, which she then uses to magically create clones of them, all while monologuing and making it clear just how far she has descended into insanity. Now, one of Geeky Stephen's biggest gripes with this episode is what he calls the bastardization of Chrysalis.
Good lord, Chrysalis has fallen from grace. This is the same character that launched a full-scale invasion on a city and imprisoned all of Equestria's figureheads without anyone realizing it. Now she's struggling to keep 6 characters in a group, and she doesn't even know where her destination is.
Yes, she did do those things, but she was also foiled both times and had her entire hive turn against her. I think DWK puts it best.
Chrysalis is a fucking loser, and I love it. She's bitter, lonely, has no self-awareness, fucks up everything she tries to do, and then blames it on everyone else.
Apart from it being hilarious, taking Chrysalis in this direction actually feels like a natural progression for her character, having lost her hive. And we've already done the whole epic two-parter thing twice now, so a lighter episode of her going nuts where the plot is played mostly for laughs is a refreshing change of pace. Honestly, if there's one complaint I can make about Chrysalis here, it's that it's a shame we don't get to see more of her on screen, given how she steals every scene she is in. But Geeky Stephen's complaints about Chrysalis kind of embody his approach to the episode as a whole. You can generally spot a bad critic a mile away when they throw their toys out of the pram because they didn't get what they wanted. Geeky Stephen is evidently quite prone to this, his criticism of Yakety Sax being very much along the lines of "I wanted the story to be about this," despite what we got being perfectly serviceable with a powerful moral. As for The Mean Six, his opening statement tells you all you need to know.
The Mean Six is a comedy episode. It has to be. Every single thing it does is so inept, so bad, that it feels like it was all done out of a sense of humor.
Yeah, at what point does The Mean Six present itself as anything other than a comedy episode for all of the reasons you just said?
This is fucking camp. What are you doing? Don't you want to keep that to yourself?
Yes, it is supposed to be camp and stupid. That is the tone we're going for here. I'm not saying it is great comedy. Ultimately, humour is very subjective, and the action that follows as Chrissy's clones interact with the real Main Six relies heavily on the old Shakespearean comedic trope of mistaken identity for its entertainment value, and that might not be for everyone. However, the real root of the episode's mixed reception, as I've alluded to, is in people's false expectations surrounding it, because it turns out Geeky Stephen is not alone in that regard. I've been told the phrase mid-season finale originated from within the fandom, which is totally believable because it sounds needlessly dramatic, and bronies are notoriously insecure about watching a TV show aimed at little girls, and so will do anything to hype it up to oblivion. Anyway, at some point Hasbro or Discovery Family picked it up and decided to use it in the official trailer, and due in part to the aforementioned insecurity, the bronies saw this and Chrysalis returning and put 2 and 2 and 2 together, expecting and desiring something more epic along the lines of Twilight's Kingdom. This was a terrible decision in the marketing department, which ultimately set the episode up to fail because it could never live up to this hype. Having said all of that, it's interesting how even as a gloriously camp light-hearted comedy episode, there is actually some interesting stuff going on thematically here. Geeky Stephen takes great offence to the ending, in particular how the arguments caused by the Mean Six's interference are so easily brushed over.
You know that's how bigger problems manifest, right? By simply pushing them away and not addressing them head on. If this is the message you want to go on record with, I can't say it's a particularly good message.
This basically makes out that the earlier conflicts are not addressed at all, somehow missing the part where they explicitly apologise to each other. See, what many, including Geeky Steven, seem to miss is that the Mean Six are much more than just a rehash of the discorded Main Six from the Return of Harmony. Mean Twilight upsets Pinky by complaining about keeping on schedule while showing no compassion for Fluttershy, but notice how this is a direct parallel to an earlier scene with the real Twilight.
And smell these roses! Oh yeah. Alright, roses, fun. Now, let's try and stay on schedule.
Also, look at these two scenes of rarity side by side.
You can't have it! It's mine, you hear me? Oh, mine! I can't survive with just this tiny, fashionable little saddlebag. I miss my things!
I've long been of the view that the elements are more something the characters try hard to aspire to rather than being intrinsic to their very nature, and the Mean Six are a reflection of what they might become without the strength of their friendship and compassion for one another holding them together. You know that I'm all about good communication, but there is really nothing to communicate here. The Main Six already know their own flaws and aren't going to fall out over something petty. The closing line of the episode really presses this home and fits perfectly from a thematic point of view.
If we can survive a day like this, I think our friendship is strong enough to handle anything the world can throw at us.
Again, I'm not going to declare The Mean Six an amazing piece of television, but it's one probably worth a second viewing, and you might find enjoyment from it, not as an epic mid-season finale or anything so spectacular, but as just a fun, mindless piece of comedy with a surprisingly poignant message. And also that prance.